Hey there, fellow thrill seekers. I've got some bone-chilling tales to share that might just make you second-guess your next sleepover plans. So, grab your popcorn and get cozy because these stories take us to a totally different haunt. The first one is at a century-old mansion on the outskirts of town. Picture this. A bunch of us, looking for the ultimate adrenaline rush, decide to spend the night at this legendary mansion that's said to be haunted by its former inhabitants. We're talking flickering lights, creaking floors, and maybe a few friendly or not-so-friendly ghosts. Oh, and did I mention this place looks straight out of a horror movie? As we arrived at the mansion, the air felt different, heavy with history and secrets. The moon cast eerie shadows on the walls as we ventured inside, flashlight in hand. Our plan was to explore, maybe capture some ghostly evidence on camera, and basically have the night of our lives. Well, we got what we asked for, but trust me, it wasn't all fun and games. The mansion was a maze of dark corridors and grand chambers. The wallpaper was peeling, and the furniture seemed to whisper tales of times long past. We laughed and joked to cover up the nerves, but every now and then, a floorboard would creak, and we'd all jump like scaredy cats. But that was just the beginning. As we settled down for the night, sleeping bags and all, we started hearing things, distant footsteps, faint whispers, you name it. At first we brushed it off as our overactive imaginations, blaming the spooky atmosphere for playing tricks on us. But then, the temperature dropped and I swear you could see your breath in the air. Cue the goosebumps. We gathered in the main hall, flashlights pointed in every direction, trying to make sense of the unexplainable. And that's when we saw it. A figure standing at the top of the grand staircase. I kid you not, our hearts practically leapt out of our chests. The figure was translucent, like a shimmering mirage, and it just stood there staring down at us. I've never felt such a bone-deep chill in my life. The bravest among us called out, thinking maybe it was just a prankster, or one of our friends messing with us. But there was no response, just an eerie silence that seemed to stretch on forever. We mustered the courage to approach the staircase, our footsteps echoing loudly in the vast hall. As we reached the spot where the figure had been standing, an icy breeze swept past us, ruffling our hair and sending shivers down our spines. We exchanged glances, our expressions a mix of fear and fascination. It was like the air itself was telling us that we were not alone. We continued our exploration, stepping gingerly through the mansion's many rooms, our flashlights revealing dusty furniture and faded portraits. But with every step, the feeling of being watched intensified. At one point, we heard soft laughter, distant and melancholic, as if the walls themselves were sharing a secret joke from long ago. Our nerves were shot by the time we returned to the main hall. We decided to huddle together, hoping that safety in numbers would somehow shield us from the supernatural. But as we sat there, the lights above us began to flicker, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And then, without warning, they went out completely. Pitch darkness enveloped us, and panic set in. We fumbled for our flashlights, our beams of light dancing wildly, trying to pierce the blackness. And that's when we heard it. Whispers all around us, voices that seemed to come from every corner of the room. It was as if the walls held the secrets of 100 whispered conversations, finally letting them loose into the night. With pounding hearts, we clung to each other, our flashlights shaking in our trembling hands. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, and suddenly a shadow darted across the wall. We all turned our flashlights in that direction, hearts in our throats, only to find nothing. But then, a voice, faint and distant, seemed to echo through the darkness. It whispered a single word, "Leave." And that was all it took for us to scramble to our feet and bolt for the exit, leaving our sleeping bags and courage behind. As we burst out of the mansion, gasping for breath in the night air, we cast a final glance at the looming structure. It stood there, silent and enigmatic, like a keeper of untold stories. And even though we were far from its walls, we couldn't shake the feeling that it still held a piece of our fear-stricken souls within its haunted embrace. So there you have it, a sleepover turned supernatural saga that none of us will ever forget. The mansion's mysteries still linger in the back of our minds, a reminder that sometimes curiosity can lead you to places where the line between reality and the unknown becomes a blur. So, picture this, a bunch of us friends, all excited, headed to my uncle's cabin deep in the woods for what we thought would be an unforgettable sleepover. We were in for something unforgettable, all right, but not in the way we expected. Let me take you back to that spine-tingling night. The wind was doing its best to sound like a howling ghost outside, and the cabin seemed to be creaking along with it. We were all cozied up inside, cracking jokes, sharing stories, and basically trying to forget how the cabin's shadows were playing weird tricks on the walls. It was meant to be all fun and games, but little did we know, we were about to play a very different kind of game. A game of terror. As the night grew darker, the cabin's air grew heavier with, well, let's call it creepiness. We laughed off the unease, trying to convince ourselves that the weird sounds were just woodland creatures having a party. But every now and then, someone would look at the window and you could tell that they were secretly wondering if something was out there looking back. So, there I was, taking a break from the group to grab some snacks from the kitchen. It was dimly lit, and I could swear the temperature dropped by 1,000,000 degrees as I walked in. But hey, maybe it was just a weird draft, right? I shook it off and got to work rummaging through the cabinets for some chips. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move by the window. I whipped my head around, heart pounding, but it was just those darn branches playing tricks again. I chuckled to myself, thinking I was being a total scaredy cat. Just as I turned back to my snack mission, poof, the lights decided to join the party outside and went off. I was engulfed in total darkness. I could feel my heart in my throat as I fumbled for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The dim glow did little to ease my panic, but at least I wasn't alone in the dark. That's when I saw it, a handprint on the dusty table. I mean, come on, who could have left that there? I swear I hadn't touched it. Goosebumps prickled my arms as I stared at it. And then, a chilly gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing a forgotten candle on the counter. I swear it felt like a ghostly breath brushing past me. In a shaky voice, I mumbled to myself, okay, this is some movie-level stuff. But there was more to come. I sensed movement behind me, and as I turned, I saw this shape. Like a shadow, but more solid. It was like the darkness itself was taking form. My jaw dropped, and I was pretty sure I was going to win the gold medal in the 100-meter dash right there and then. My phone's flashlight danced wildly as I made a break for it, and just as I reached the doorway, a freezing hand grabbed my wrist. I yelped and pulled away, but that icy grip wasn't letting go. Panic surged through me as I swung my phone around, and in that jittery light, I caught a glimpse of its face. Hollow eyes, empty, yet filled with something you can only call evil. It was like something out of a horror movie, and I was the unlucky star. I ripped my hand free, stumbled back, and slammed the kitchen door shut, my heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. My friends rushed over, and I spilled the beans about the ghostly encounter. We were all pretty shaken up, and let's just say sleep wasn't on the agenda that night. Morning couldn't come fast enough. We packed up like our lives depended on it, and as we left, I couldn't help but look back at that cabin. It felt like it was staring right back at me, like it knew something we didn't. And yeah, those woods, they held secrets we'd probably never want to uncover. Years have passed since that spine-chilling night, but I can't shake off that memory. The cabin still stands, a silent witness to whatever happened that night. Once, we were at this campsite near a mesmerizing waterfall. Nature's beauty on display, stars overhead, and a crackling bonfire keeping us warm. But that night turned into a nightmare etched into my memory forever. So there we were, a bunch of friends around the bonfire, sharing ghost stories and trying to outscare each other. Everything felt fine until someone brought up the legend of the haunted waterfall, a place where reflections in the water weren't just reflections. The night air grew heavy as our laughter turned nervous. We brushed off the story as just that, a story. But deep down, we couldn't ignore the unsettling feeling that had seeped into the atmosphere. The waterfall's roar that was once soothing now felt ominous, like it held secrets it was dying to share. As the stories continued, I decided to grab some more firewood from the edge of the campsite. The darkness seemed to swallow the light, and the sound of the waterfall became a haunting symphony. With each step, my heart pounded louder, but I chalked it up to the tales we had been spinning. We laughed a little too loudly, avoided looking at the water, and tried to keep the atmosphere light. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching us from the depths of that waterfall. I stole glances at the water's surface, half expecting to see that eerie reflection again. Each time I looked, it was just the dancing light playing tricks, or at least that's what I told myself. The final blow came when someone decided to take a selfie by the water's edge. As the flash went off, I caught a glimpse of the reflection, not the person in the selfie, but another figure, distorted and chilling. I stared at the screen in shock, unable to believe what I was seeing. The others gathered around and I could see the fear mirrored in their eyes as they saw the second figure in the photo. Panic erupted as we stumbled back from the water's edge, our laughter replaced by fear. The campfire that had once been a source of comfort now seemed inadequate against the darkness that pressed in around us. We decided to pack up and leave, but as we did, we heard it, a whisper carried by the wind, a voice that seemed to echo from the waterfall itself. In a frenzy, we tore down the campsite, leaving behind a place that had turned from serene to sinister. As we hiked away, the sound of the waterfall faded, but the memories of that night remained vivid, the chilling reflections, the unsettling presence and the whispered voice that seemed to haunt our every step. I find myself occasionally gazing at other serene landscapes, wondering if they too hold hidden terrors beneath their tranquil facades. Thank you for being part of our horror haunt. Don't forget to subscribe for more spooky tales. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with fellow thrill seekers. Comment below and let us know which stories you'd like to hear in the future. Until next time, take care.